Hello everyone, I'm Becky Goldsmith with Piece of Cake, and I'm back with Searching for Beauty Video 4. I've got all of my blocks on the design wall, and I want to show you how I got everything up on the wall and then how I'm going to take it off. You saw in one of the previous videos that I had my backgrounds up on the wall. There are two blocks, the center block and the one in the lower right-hand corner, that have half-square triangles as backgrounds. I did reverse where the light and dark triangles are in those blocks. I like it a lot better this way. You can see in these still shots the progression from one block to the next. I began in the upper left-hand corner with block number 1. This is the most coronavirus-like block. These colors were easy for me to choose, and I think part of what helped was that green print. I love that green print in this block. Then I moved on to block number 2. The really fun fabric on the bits that stick out from the circle, that is from the Cafe Facet collection, and I bought a fat quarter of that print in several different colorways. I sort of wish I had more, but a fat quarter was more than enough in the way I used it. I love the way that orange changes the protuberance on the block. I just love it. Anyway, so I moved on to that. Now, one of the things that gets hard is knowing what color comes next. And I took from my stack of fabrics, I took fat quarters and pieces and I pinned them up to the wall in approximate locations. The more fabrics I cut, the easier it became to decide where more fabrics might go. But not everything made the cut. Those are some of the pieces off to the side that I really wanted to work, and they just did not work. Each block stands alone and is pretty on its own, but they work together. There's a nice balance. And when I'm doing this, I don't so much look at, all right, I've got purple in the upper right and I've got purple on the left. How am I going to balance that purple down below? It's more like making soup. You can sort of feel the flavor that might need to come next. And I would suggest that you trust yourself on there. So in this progression that I'm showing you, from getting one block done to 2 to 3 to farther on down through the quilt, know that it took me nearly a week of a few hours every day working on this and walking by and changing colors around and thinking about what flavor needed to be added next. And sometimes you just find a really great fabric. So the one, the lower, that bottom block in the center, I fell in love with that Tula Pink eyeball print. And it was not in my original stack of fabrics, but I did occasionally have to go into my stash and choose more fabric. And I figured that's, it's my stash, and if I want to add more, I just can. So I didn't use everything I pulled initially. I added more to the group. This is what I ended up with. Okay, you can use this as a loose roadmap for how you want to color your quilt, or you can come up with something completely different. There's so many ways you could color this quilt. I have not sewn together any of the background squares. and they're all big. And all of those applique shapes on the wall have their seam allowances sticking out. So as I make these blocks, the applique shapes are going to skinny up just a little bit. They're not going to be as bold as they are up there now. And the applique designs are going to be closer together because they sit on 16-inch finished blocks, and what's on the wall is bigger. I like looking at it this way, but I think it's going to be important for me now to get this out of sight, the blocks off the wall, and I will start putting them back up as I finish them, because they will be similar but different, and I want to see their finished look next. Let me pause the video and show you how I take applique blocks off the wall so that it makes sense and is easy to keep up with the shapes and nothing gets lost. I'll be right back. When I take blocks off the wall, I normally start in the upper left and work my way across in a logical manner. But because I'm on the video camera and I need it to be easy to get to, I'm going to do block number 5, but it's in the center of the quilt. I've got my ironing board set up in front of the design wall. On top of my ironing board, I have a little folder that I cut from a file folder that I cut down to 7 inches by 10 inches, and on that is a piece of bamboo felt. I carry it on the website. I don't know, it's the right weight, feels good, works like a charm, it's what I use. All right, so I've got my book open in front of me, and I've got the overlay next to me on the ironing board so that I can see the numbers. I'll start doing the applique, so I'll do number 1, then I'll do number 2, and then I will probably start with that number 3 and go all the way around and do the 3s. And then I'll do that number 4 and all the way around. Now, many of these are just exactly the same fabrics, so it really doesn't matter in what order I place them in my little book, except that I like where I've got the larger fabrics, the number 4 fabrics. I like the way the pattern is distributed on those flowers inside. So I definitely am going to pay attention. And besides, on other blocks, I really do care. So it matters to me the sequence I take these down. I'm going to start with the high number. I'm going to, when I sew the number 4s, I want to sew that one first, and I'll work in a clockwise rotation. So I'm going to take them off the wall in reverse order. Oops. And I had pins in all of these shapes, but I took them out before I started the camera. So now I have this stack of number 4s, and I'm going to place it on the bottom of my little book, just like that. So then I want my number 3s. What did I say? I think I'm going to sew that one first. So I want to take these off in reverse order. And then on my little book, I'm going to place them like that. And then the round, a little kitty circle, is 2, and there's 1. So my shapes are just like that on my little book. And what that means is when I applique them, whatever's at the top of the stack is always what comes next. To carry this around, I can close it up. I can put the tissue paper back over the top of my overlay and then fold it and keep it with that. Not a problem. I'm going to take a photograph of that with my phone so that when I'm piecing those squares together, I don't accidentally get something out of position. but I am going to piece my backgrounds as I take the applique shapes off the wall and put those backgrounds with the applique shapes in their folder. Now, before I do that, and I should have maybe done this first, let me back up here. What I'm going to do is, as I look at these blocks on the wall, I'm going to number those blocks before I take them down in such a way that when I place the applique on it, I get everything back where it goes. Because let's say you're looking at the center block. If I want the applique to be oriented when it's done so that that corner is in the upper left and this corner is in the upper right, I need to make sure I do that. So on my overlay, let me find my Sharpie marker. I have one right here. On my overlay, I always put an X in the upper right-hand corner of the overlay, and I put an X in the far upper right-hand corner of the background fabric. Be sure you put it where it's going to get trimmed away. If you write with a permanent marker in an area that's part of the real block, that's a bad idea, which is why I like to start with a bigger background. Now, instead of an X, really what I want to do is on each one of these blocks, I'm going to put a number. So in block number 1 on the upper right-hand corner, I'll put an X. I'm sorry, a 1. And then the next one to the right, that'll be 2. 3 will be far right top row. You get the idea. So the block in the center, really what should be here is a 5. So that's a trick that I always use when I'm putting together a quilt with multiple blocks. I almost forgot to say that some of these blocks have really large circles on them, and they're not going to fit in the folders. Probably I'll leave them pinned to the design wall with a note about what block they go in case I have a question. We'll cover invisible hand applique, inner points, and outer curves in the next video. All right, I think that's it. I hope you guys are having fun with this. It is a surprisingly happy quilt if you color it with happy colors. So, thank you for watching. Stay healthy, stay happy. May you have many continued happy stitches.